the star power of individual actors has never been less important to moviegoers than it is today, it's still tough to deny the zingy appeal of a huge ensemble cast of respected and beloved performers. But it's so tough to keep track of every movie coming down the pike, and so you couldn't be blamed for having no idea that these star-studded projects are all on the horizon. I'm Ellie for What Culture, and these are 10 upcoming movies with insane casts you haven't heard of. Number 10, In the Hands of Dante. In the Hands of Dante is the latest film from acclaimed director Julian Schnabel, adapted from Nick Tosh's novel of the same name. The ambitious drama revolves around author Dante Alighieri in the 14th century and Tosches himself in the present day, with both parts being played by Oscar Isaac. But the wider cast is positively stacked, including the likes of Jason Momoa, Gerard Butler, Gal Gadot, Al Pacino, John Malkovich, Sabrina Impacciatore, Franco Nero, and even legendary filmmaker Martin Scorsese as Dante's mentor. It's nothing if not an intriguingly eclectic cast for a bold adaptation of a tricky novel, and whether it lives up to expectations or not, it'll certainly be fun to see Isaac sharing the screen with the likes of Momoa and Butler, especially Momoa, if some wild photos from the set are any indication. In the Hand of Dante doesn't have a release date as of yet, but it is likely to be released in 2025. Number 9, A Big Bold Beautiful Journey. A Big Bold Beautiful Journey is a romantic fantasy film from the mind of the great Kogonada, and follows two strangers and the extraordinary emotional journey that connects them. The star-crossed leads are to be played by Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell, a crackerjack combo in itself. But that's certainly not all. Robbie and Farrell will be joined by the talented likes of Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Jodie Turner-Smith, Billy Magnussen, Hamish Linklater, Sarah Gadon, Lily Rabe, and Brandon Perea. Given that Kogonada's previous film, After Yang, roped in quite the illustrious ensemble, including Farrell and Turner-Smith, it's little surprise that he's managed to one-up it here. Virtually nothing is known about the story beyond that single-line synopsis, but with so much talent both in front of and behind the camera, it's incredibly easy to have faith. A Big Bold Beautiful Journey will be released in theatres May 9th, 2025. Number 8, Juror Number Two. Did you even know that a new Clint Eastwood film is due to drop in a mere matter of weeks? Probably not, especially as Warner Brothers quietly dropped the first trailer recently with very little fanfare. But Juror Number Two actually looks like a rock-solid throwback to the dynamite legal thrillers that regularly blew up the box office throughout the 1990s. Nicholas Hoult stars as Justin Kemp, a man who serves as a juror in a high-profile murder trial, only to realise that he himself killed the victim in a hit-and-run accident a year prior. And so he faces a dilemma: to come clean and liberate the man accused of murder, or keep quiet for the sake of his own freedom. Eastwood's esteem as a filmmaker has always ensured he hasn't struggled to fill out his large casts, and his latest effort here sees Hoult joined by Toni Collette, J.K. Simmons, Chris Messina, Zoe Deutsch, Kiefer Sutherland, Leslie Bibb, and Eastwood's own daughter Francesca. Needless to say, if Eastwood's film caught any awards buzz whatsoever, then it shouldn't remain little known for too long. Juror Number Two will be released in a select amount of theatres on November the 1st. Number 7, Lear Rex. Veteran filmmaker Bernard Rose returns with what's unquestionably his most star-studded project in decades, if not ever. A modern-day retelling of William Shakespeare's King Lear. Lear Rex will feature Al Pacino in the title role, with Jessica Chastain playing Goneril, and the enviable ensemble is rounded out by Ariana DeBose, Rachel Brosnahan, Lakeith Stanfield, Peter Dinklage, Chris Messina, Ted Levine, Danny Huston, and Stephen Dorff. To recap, that's 3 Oscar winners in Pacino, Chastain, and DeBose, an Oscar nominee in Stanfield, and a 4-time Emmy winner in Dinklage. Quite the distinguished lineup, to say the least. Shakespeare adaptations can, of course, be routinely relied upon to attract top-draw casts, but even accepting that, this is one hell of a uniquely supercharged ensemble. Lear Rex is currently shooting and will likely release in 2025. Number 6, Untitled Noah Baumbach film. Noah Baumbach is a filmmaker whose name alone attracts a bevy of acting talent, and his currently untitled coming-of-age comedy-drama project, which was shot earlier this year, is no exception. The Netflix-backed production stars the intriguing duo of George Clooney and Adam Sandler in the lead roles. And the ensemble includes Laura Dern, Billy Crudup, Riley Keough, Jim Broadbent, Jamie Demetriou, Isla Fisher, Josh Hamilton, Eve Hewson, Stacey Keach, Emily Mortimer, who also co-wrote the film, Patrick Wilson, and Baumbach's wife and regular collaborator Greta Gerwig. Even for Baumbach standards, that's a stacked cast. And while it's fair to assume that many of these performances will only show up for a quick scene or maybe two, it still ensures this is one of the most intriguing ensembles of any upcoming film. And the film is likely to release in 2025. Number 5. Ella McKay. Legendary filmmaker and co-creator of The Simpsons, James L. Brooks, returns with his first film in 15 years, following the brutal box office flop that was his 2010 rom-com, How Do You Know? But that film's failure didn't leave him scrambling to secure name talents for his new project, Ella McKay, a comedy about an idealistic young politician, played by Emma Mackey, as she struggles with work-life balance after becoming governor of her state. Mackey will be joined by Jamie Lee Curtis, Woody Harrelson, Ayo Adebri, Albert Brooks, Kumail Nanjiani, Jack Lowden, and Rebecca Hall. Whew, what a cast! This certainly feels like the sort of splashy studio comedy project that's rarely made these days, especially for theatrical release. Combined with Brooks' old-school filmmaking sensibilities, it'll hopefully ensure that Ella McKay is a breath of fresh air in a genre that's become rather stagnant in recent years. Ella McKay will likely be released in 2025. Number 4. The Thursday Murder Club. The latest comedy from Chris Columbus is adapted from Richard Osman's acclaimed murder mystery novel of the same name, and has quite the enticing hook. The Thursday Murder Club sees a group of pensioners attempting to solve a murder, with said group of oldies including Helen Mirren playing a retired spy, Pierce Brosnan, Ben Kingsley, Celia Imrie, and Jonathan Pryce. But the killer casting doesn't stop there. They're also joined by David Tennant, Naomi Ackie, Daniel Mays, Richard E. Grant, and Paul Freeman. With the Knives Out franchise and the Kenneth Branagh Poirot movies basically reviving the cinematic whodunit, we're likely going to see a ton of star-studded murder mystery films over the coming years. And between its superb cast and Osman's well-received source material, this one sounds like it could be a banger. The Thursday Murder Club recently wrapped shooting and should be released in, you guessed it, 2025. Number 3. Caught Stealing. Caught Stealing is the next film from the great Darren Aronofsky, a crime thriller revolving around a former baseball player played by Austin Butler who finds himself caught up in a criminal scheme in 1990s New York. Aronofsky's name alone will always secure him fantastic actors, and his latest is sure to be no exception, as Butler will be joined by Zoe Kravitz, Regina King, Matt Smith, Liev Schreiber, Griffin Dunn, Vincent D'Onofrio, and most unexpectedly, Bad Bunny. Honestly, do you really need to know more than that? Well, in case you somehow do, Aronofsky's film is also adapted from Charlie Huston's acclaimed 2004 novel of the same name, with Huston handling screenwriting duties himself. If the premise sounds fairly conventional for Aronofsky, the man has never turned in a safe-by-the-numbers effort to date, so it's incredibly unlikely that he's going to start now. Caught Stealing is currently shooting and will likely be released in 2025. Number 2. The Electric State. The Electric State is the latest film from the Russo brothers, an adaptation of Simon Stalenhag's beloved sci-fi adventure novel with an eye-watering $320 million budget. But given the cast the Russos secured for the project, it makes a little more sense why Netflix was willing to throw so much cash at it. The live-action cast is led by Millie Bobby Brown, whose recent film Damsel is the most watched Netflix original film of the year so far. Chris Pratt as well, Ke Huy Quan, Stanley Tucci, Woody Norman, and Giancarlo Esposito. Many of them rocking truly ridiculous haircuts, I might add. The voice cast for the film's many robots, meanwhile, includes Jason Alexander, Brian Cox, Jenny Slate, Anthony Mackie, and Billy Bob Thornton. That's one hell of a 4-quadrant cast right there, sure to appeal across all the demographics, and the Russos have certainly proven their aptitude at juggling large ensemble casts in their Avengers movies. Regardless of how the project turns out overall, it's almost certainly going to be one of the most watched Netflix originals of all time. The Electric State releases in March 2025. Number 1. The Way of the Wind. It simply wouldn't be a Terrence Malick film if it didn't spend years languishing in post-production. And so it won't surprise many that his new epic biblical drama, The Way of the Wind, was shot all the way back in 2019. So for context, It's a pre-COVID movie that still isn't out. The film is set to depict several episodes in the life story of Jesus, and stars Giza Rohrig, which I believe I've pronounced correctly, but I apologise if I didn't, playing Jesus, while Matthias Schoenaerts will play St. Peter. And in a compelling wrinkle, Mark Rylance will play 4 different versions of Satan, because why the hell not? The rest of the cast includes Ben Kingsley, Joseph Fiennes, Douglas Booth, Aidan Turner as St. Andrew, Mattia Kassovitz, and John Rhys-Davies. Confirming beyond any doubt that while Malick's more recent work has been fairly hit and miss, his name still attracts one hell of a cast. Given the mysterious aura that surrounds him as a filmmaker, the curiosity factor for many actors must be irresistible. The Way of the Wind releases whenever Malick finishes it, really.